All right, welcome back to the channel. So Jermell Charlo dogs Demetrius Andrade and says that he can't stand him. A little harsher words than that. And moreover, that he'll never get a Charlo fight and they want him blackballed from the sport. Jermell Charlo, man, that's a wild boy. But you may think it's an overreaction, but really, if you look at the history of it, it's kind of understandable. Let's talk about that and what can be done about it in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So, Jermell Charlo is the best fighter right now, I think it's fair to say, in the 154-pound division. He is the WBA champion, the WBC champion, and the IBF champion. He only needs one more fight, one with Brian Castano, to become the number one, to be the undisputed champion at 154. And it was not an easy road for Jermell Charlo. And in fact, he lost an opportunity for his first championship fight, a memory that I'm sure he has not lost, right? And feelings that are clearly, from what he said and the way that he said what he said, very fresh in his mind. He recalls that his first opportunity was supposed to be against Demetrius Andrade on Showtime. However, Demetrius Andrade was a no-show for the fight, despite the fact that Jermell Charlo had invested money and a lot of effort and obviously had a lot of personal gain riding on his championship fight. But Demetrius Andrade made a bad decision. Now, can you characterize his personality and all that? Yes, you can, but for the sake of this video, I will not enter into that type of speculation, and I'll just call it what it is in its essence, which is a bad decision. He decided to back out of the fight with Jermell Charlo and sign a deal with Roc Nation. And Roc Nation, according to reports, had a representative make him an offer that was a very lucrative offer and would have resulted in him making a lot more money than if he had fought Jermell Charlo. He decides to do that. And then his manager sues Demetrius Andrade. Demetrius Andrade's manager sues him, and as a result, that deal falls apart. Demetrius Andrade doesn't have that deal, but he also passed up on a Showtime deal that was offered to him and screwed over Jermell Charlo, who didn't get his shot and had to wait a longer period of time to get it, right? So that's why you hear out of Jermell Charlo such vitriol, such venom, and why he says what he said, which was, I hate Demetrius Andrade. He will never get another fight again. Now, obviously what he's referring to, or at least the part that we know that he has influence into, is a huge fight for Demetrius Andrade at 160 pounds against Jermell Charlo. Now, my understanding is that Demetrius Andrade is supposed to be moving to 168. If he moves to 168, then hey, that problem goes away until, of course, the time when Jermall Charlo goes to 168 and wins a belt, because he will, and Jermell Charlo goes to 160, which eventually, I suspect, if he's like most boxers, they move up in weight once they become undisputed and can't nobody whoop them, which ain't going to happen anytime soon for Jermell Charlo, I don't believe. So that is, I think, the reason, the future likelihood. So, the likely scenario that will play out. So you're going to wind up, even if Demetrius Andrade goes to 168, he's still going to be in the same situation that he's in at 160, where you have Canelo Alvarez as a champion, and Canelo ain't going to fight you because Canelo's going to lose that fight. It's what it is. Sorry. He loses. You know what I mean? Let me get to the end of that one with Demetrius Andrade and Jermall Charlo. Jermall Charlo wins that fight. Oh, excuse me. Canelo Alvarez and Demetrius Andrade. Demetrius Andrade wins that fight. Too slick, southpaw stance, knows what Canelo does in the ring. Very intelligent fighter, no doubt. So if the past holds, no Demetrius Andrade Canelo, because Canelo could have fought Demetrius Andrade for undisputed at 160, and whether it was Canelo's decision or the powers that be that people hide behind when they don't like their fighters' choices, not all the time, because the powers that be, they mess up. It can be real crooked out there. However, that does not absolve the fighter himself of not making fights, because Canelo didn't even sound like he wanted to fight Demetrius Andrade. Treats it like a joke, kind of like he treats the Jermall Charlo fight. But I digress and back onto the subject. Demetrius Andrade probably just needs to do the following. He needs to, let's talk about Jermall Charlo and Jermell Charlo and this blackballing notion. That works, and I understand why that works for Jermell Charlo, and I also understand why Jermall Charlo would respect that as a brother. However, I don't know whether or not if I was in Jermell Charlo's shoes, I would give that advice to Jermall, because I might absolve Jermall of any guilt that he needed to go and whoop Demetrius Andrade's behind, get the belt, and add to his legacy. Because the fact of the matter is, the fight between Demetrius Andrade and Jermall Charlo is one of the better fights that Jermall can get, and Jermall Charlo, can beat him. It is very, very possible. So it's not an easy fight, just like I can't tell you how Jermell and Demetrius Andrade would have went, unless they know something about, and this is always possible, Demetrius Andrade's constitution that I don't know, whether his ability and his willingness to fight through a really tough and gritty fight, or whether he just has a physical flaw, like he doesn't have a very good punch resistance naturally. Now, if they know that about him, then okay, cool. But I don't know that to be the truth yet. I have not seen it, and I've not heard anybody say it. So from what I can see, looks like a fair one to me. And since it looks like a fair one to me, I want to see it. And Jermell's, while again, I completely understand his his reservations, right? I understand them. You got messed up for some money, but this is boxing. Let's see how we can make some money. You know what I'm saying? How can we turn the situation that you have, which is you got screwed out of some money and opportunity, which, by the way, you did now get, because you have 3 of the belts in that division. So, come on, man. Other people didn't get those opportunities at all, okay? Kasim Uma could have been fighting at 147. He had to fight at 154, okay? Chris Bird could have been fighting at light heavyweight. He had to fight at heavyweight. So, to a certain extent, you're a millionaire, man. You got all this money. You got enough power and influence to brag about being able to blackball somebody. So clearly, you were not that harmed by that particular circumstance. You rebounded, okay? Demetrius Andrade, on the other hand, has not fully rebounded, okay? And while I can admit, and I've made the video in the past, that Demetrius Andrade, hey, man, that's a jacked up move. That doesn't mean that he should never be able to get a fight again. And the truth of the matter is, Demetrius Andrade is an excellent fighter at 160 and 168. So, as long as there should be some compensation, from Demetrius Andrade's part to make up for the fact that they did cost you guys money, water under the bridge, my man. Water under the bridge, man. And they should make the fight if it's possible to make the fight, because Demetrius Andrade can lose to Jermall Charlo, and then everybody in Charlo can talk crap about Demetrius Andrade and do it with a lot more money in their pocket and a better resume for Jermall Charlo. That's my take on the matter, but I can understand why people would see differently. You let me know what you think in the comment section, and with that, I'm out. Peace.